So we are taking a look at 3 different really cool bass sound from 3 different genres. And the first one is coming from drum and bass, especially from liquid drum and bass. And the sound is called wobble bass. For this one, we are going to use serum. The main idea behind the sound is getting kind of triangle sine wave sound and wobble them and distort them to create this kind of really deep wobbling bass sound. So we are going to go here and grab something like basic move, and then we're going to go slider B. The idea here is putting it to the 7th semitone up, so we are playing the power chord all the time, and we are putting this to 1 octave up, so this will be really bright. And let me put both of them into the filter, put it in 24 dB. Something like this, right? Let's put it into mono because it's a bass sound and bring the cutoff down. I want to give a bit of resonance because I want to hear the rhythms a bit more. And let me put 1 octave down. And let me put it down to 3 here and down. And put the second one with 5th maybe. I'm gonna go a bit more crazy because I want to hear stereo feel. You immediately feel the drum and bass sound. And I'm going to put another sub because now we are in D2 mode. I still want to have one sub really in the middle and strong. Now we have this other sub bass helping out the bottom low end of the sound. Let's put the notes now. So oftentimes in the drum and bass, you want to go around with the notes, so you don't want to keep it too stable. Give the feeling of things are moving around. So that was the reason that I was playing these ones. So let's play it together with the track. And a little bit correction and coloring, it looks like this. Drum and bass is so high tempo. At the moment we are at 172 BPM, and that's the reason bass moves all the time to give that really high tempo vibe in the track. But now we are coming to the most important part of the sound. The first thing that I'm going to do, put the first LFO. I'm going to change the shape slightly here so that I can have a bit more longer development in the beginning. And the first thing that I like to do is that having this wavetable position changing during the track. So we have this movement here, and I'm going to put the same thing in the second one as well, but this one we can go a bit crazier. And the one thing that we forget here is actually from sine wave, we definitely want something like a triangle wave. This guy, oh, much better. So we have this nice movement going on, but that's not enough. I'm going to take the second LFO now, and this one will be on the levels. So the first one, the very sub bass, I'm not going to move it that much, maybe something like this. But the high pitched one, this guy, I can move it a bit more. Now both of them is 1/4. Changing the second one, it makes the things a bit more sophisticated, if that makes sense. So, but you can keep it the same, but I'm just gonna increase this. Really beautiful. We are almost done here. The other thing that I'm gonna do is just put in a pink noise to cheer it up a little bit, and of course send everything to the filters. Beautiful, beautiful. To get this really gritty sound, a bit aggressive sound, you need to use the distortion for the sine waves or triangle waves. Although this sound itself is good enough to use in a drum and bass sound. So if you want to go for deeper vibe, this is enough. But what I'm going to do, I want to go for a bit more aggressive sound, so I'm going to go for diet 2 here. So now we are getting this really aggressive sound. I'm going to go even more drive. Now we are clipping or distorting too much and so on. No problem at all, because we're going to use another cutoff filter afterwards. I tend to enjoy adding flangers to mix that weird sounds and so on. You can really try around quite a bit here, maybe a bit chorus. Don't worry about too much the stereo field, we will come back and fix that. And finally, I would add a bit compression. Maybe something like this to smooth things a bit around. And finally, another filter. I'm going to use a 24 dB. Bam. The idea here is using the same cutoff filter here that we used before, but this time it will be on top of the filter, so that if I take this and put it here, and of course this will be low 24. So we get rid of all those super highs, still keep the wobble. beautiful sound. I really like it. Serum part is done. Now we have to take care of the stereo field. We have to take care of the low end a bit more so that it is mono capable, and then we are not phasing too much. The easiest thing is just putting into mid-side mode with your EQ, and we're going to go to side and activate this guy, and we're going to cut all the way up to here. So if I solo this player on mono, stereo, mono, stereo. We just want this part below 200 Hz mono. Around. Because we cut now a bit low here, but I like to compensate it by using a channel EQ and boost slightly low here, put it down all the way. And finally a sidechain compression to kick, so that when the kick hits, I want to duck the bass. Let's look ahead. Okay, let's assign some macros to the serum and make everything ready. So now we have the filter cutoff and filter distance assigned to macros, plus I played slightly here and there. The sound is slightly a bit more aggressive, but the bulk is still the same. So let's go to push and play with this one. This will be fun. If you are enjoying the video up to now, and if you feel like it's adding something to you, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It helps a ton. It keeps me motivated to make more videos like this. But other than that, let's continue. The second one is another really pretty sound. Mainly used in-house, especially in deep house. So I have a loop like this that I prepared for you. I'm sure you can already hear that scary plucky sound in your head. The first thing that we're going to do, put this into -2, and we're going to get just a square wave here, and then just turn this on. Here we go. We have this pure square wave. Second oscillator will be more like a color oscillator. Here you can go anything that you want. I like to use something a bit more authentic, something like this. It's hard to hear at the moment. The reason being is that first, we don't have an envelope, so envelope is going here. The first one is the volume, the second one will be on the cutoff. Bam, and then let's put something like this. Now you can hear what I'm talking about. The notes in this type of bass sounds are important. And the main thing that you should remember is like, you play the same plug sound like this. Let me play an octave up so that you can hear it a bit better. A regular driving bass will be like this. But in this type of bass sound, in a plucky sound, you would like to move the notes up or down or somewhere else right before the end of each bar, like this. You can pick any notes, something that you enjoy. Let's call this one into Ableton and play around a bit. I quickly moved around the notes a little bit. Looks like this now, if we play it. I could make it much more complicated, but I feel like in deep house you keep the things a bit more minimal compared to, for example, progressive house. So that's the reason I keep it slightly minimal, but you can still hear all this movement right before each bar. And if you play with the track one more time, you can hear what it does. There are a couple of things with the sound at the moment that is not working. The first thing is that you often hear this pitch envelope right at the beginning of the bass. So we're going to create the third envelope like this. We're going to make it super fast, super short, something like this. And we're going to take this and put in the chorus and shift alt click so that it's one-sided. If I play now, you can hear the exaggerated version. Let me exaggerate a bit more. It almost turns into a kick sample, right? I feel like after around 10 milliseconds, you start to hear the click. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other guy, making this a bit higher. Something like this. From there, I'm gonna resonate a bit more. Something like this maybe. Much better. Let's drive this a bit more. A bit fat. And then we're gonna go for the effects. There's one single thing that's important for me here, which is the distortion. Without it, with it, it just smooths the sound up and makes it a bit warmer, especially if you are using the tube, which I really love. There's one final thing that we can do here that is also done quite a bit, is making the sound a bit stereo. And easiest way to do it, of course, is just putting a unison like this. But in this case, because it's very low end, I'm gonna keep it 1, but this guy, I'm gonna go crazy with this one. Maybe let's go to 6. Suddenly we have much more pleasant sound all around. Put in the mono finally. That is the main core of the deep house bass. What we are going to do is basically layering this with one more time. So I'm going to duplicate this, Ctrl D and Ctrl A, Shift up. Now we have the upper version. Here, what I suggest is just opening up this one, playing with the other one, and then try to pick up some oscillators that works nicely and add some color. So let's play together. Cool. Especially this one has this nice fluty top end on top of this. And if you play one more time together. The one final thing that we should do is just a sine wave as a sub bass on the bottom so that we can have this nice deep feel on top. So let me quickly do that. So I just quickly added this single sine layer sub bass sounding like this. It's really quiet. It's just there to make the low end a bit more steady rather than hearing that plucky sound all the time. The one final thing that can be interesting here is, of course, especially in the body of the sound, we can drive it a bit with the pedal. At least I like to do it with the overdrive. And if you listen to it, we can also side change the kick so that it also moves with the kick. So we had this affection from the kick. The final thing is just putting it cutoff and the resonance to the knobs so that I can play around a bit. Let me quickly do that. Now everything is done. I super slightly tune this up a bit and sounds like this all together now. Just play around a bit the envelopes and the amounts. Looks like this. The other guy looks like this. And everything should be ready. Let's play all together and turn some knobs as usual. And the last one is another super classic. And this is what I call the lace bass. I will use Divo for this one, and I'm gonna go for 10 plays and we're gonna pick mini mono. So this is just a mini Moog emulation in Divo. So idea is getting this low sound, so I'm gonna go for 16 here altogether and open up the volume all the way up. I'm gonna just change here to analog, increase this a bit and decrease the delay, and super sustain and super release. And for the envelope 2, a bit more decay as well, and long sustain again and a bit release. And we're gonna give a bit velocity and a bit keyboard. Before we start with anything, I want to put the notes down because it's important to understand how the notes works. So the idea is moving between the octaves to create this more aggressive dramatic sound. So something like this. This is the E. We are in E minor. Something like this. We can even give a bit glide. Something like this. It's hard to hear. Let's open up the cutoff a bit. So we want to have something like this. Let me call it back to the Ableton. And with a little bit fixing, it looks like this. Now, the idea is making the sound a bit more dramatic. We will start by just adding the envelope, this one that we made this on the cutoff filter, and bring the cutoff a bit down. You can hear this increase in the volume kind of stuff. Other thing that is important in this sound is actually distributing these oscillators to make it bigger. What that means, we're gonna basically detune it, this one down and this one to the up. That gets this kind of ridiculous sound, and afterwards we're gonna put this FM so that the oscillator one, this oscillator will FMing both of these guys, and we're gonna put the sync, so this will also sync in the meantime. Not enough. The other thing that we are going to do is turning this on, give a little bit envelope in the beginning. Maybe too much, let's bring this. There's more. This kind of really grungy sound, I would say. Make it a bit more grungy, we're going to give feedback. So it gets really aggressive and dark, and we're gonna give a bit more noise. The main trick over here is actually, I'm gonna call for an LFO. I'm gonna use Ableton's own LFO here. We're gonna configure this tune here, and then we're gonna map it to LFO. So it will start moving up and down. So if you go back to the synth and take a look, you are definitely seeing what is happening here. But of course, we are not interested in that much. I'm gonna decrease the depth, maybe around 2%, something like this. And we play one more time. I'm sure you start to understand why I'm calling this lazy, because it's almost not moving when we change the notes, and then it moves and it loses the tune a little bit here and there. The final piece will be adding a bit plate reverb. And then depending on how you feel, you can open up maybe more. One more final thing that you can do is distorting a little bit with the saturator, and we're gonna go for the wave shaper, drive a little bit, increase the depth a little bit, and then we can play with the curve depending on the noise. I don't like the exaggerated, I'm gonna just put it this way, bring this down and bring the output a little bit down as well. Just like that. And we are going to group this up and just put the cutoff and the reverb here on the macros, and maybe a bit EQ so that it passes better in the main loop here. So let me quickly do that and come back. I just gave this slight boost here and cut this off, and of course we have the plate reverb, sustain and frequency. I'm going to play with the plate reverb and frequency. So let's do that.